Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 1 to 4 player game Jisogi, designed by Rodrigo Esper and published by Good Games Publishing, who helped sponsor this video. All right, here's the good news. Your dreams have come true, and you're the new manager of a small anime studio. The bad news? Your employees are overworked, underpaid, you've got no money, and your first film is due any day now. But if you can pull it off, your studio might outshine the rest and create the next big hit. So join me at the table and let's learn how to play. To set up, put this action board in the center of the play area with these 4 lock tokens nearby, along with a supply of these hype, merchandise, and money tokens. These double-sided cards are the debts which you place nearby. Both sides are the same, so it does not matter which side is face up. The cards with this back are known as the networking cards, which you shuffle and set face down. These are the script part tokens. On their back, they're labeled as setting, plot, or twist. Organize them by these types, shuffled into their own face-down stacks. Then reveal 3 face-up from each, so it looks something like this when you're done. The cards with this back are known as the Genki staff, which you organize by the colors on their fronts. Shuffle each deck face down within reach of the players, turning the top card of each deck face up. Also set this trend board in the play area, shuffling the trend cards, which have this back, into a face-down pile nearby. Then deal 3 of them from left to right into these 3 slots. When you're done, you'll then place one of these bonus tokens on top of each trend. The cards with this back are the opportunities which you shuffle, dealing 3 face up into the first 3 spaces on the trend board, and then 3 more that you leave hidden face down. After, return the rest unseen back to the box. Now have each person collect one of these studio boards along with the 6 studio action tokens that match the color shown here. In this video, we'll assume we have 2 players returning the unchosen boards and tokens back to the box. Each person also collects a player aid and 2 of these reputation trackers, adding them to the 0 spaces of their board here. Find the cards with this back, known as the dead inside staff, then flip them over and give each person 1 from each of the 4 colors, returning any extras to the box. Then put one of your studio action tokens on each of them. Everyone now collects one of these animation level tokens, putting it on their board here. And the person who last finished a season of anime collects this first player token, or you can just pick someone randomly. That person now gains a total value of 3 in money tokens, which they add to their inventory area here. The next person in clockwise order gains a total value of 4. If we had a 3rd player, they'd collect 5, and a 4th player would gain 6. If it's your first time playing, they recommend that you do not give any of the players one of these debt cards. But if you've played before, or if you're an experienced player playing with people who have not played before, then you should begin with a debt card. And that's the setup. In Jisogi, each player is running a business that is just barely staying afloat, using the money from one project to fund the next, which is what the Japanese expression Jisogi represents. Over the course of the game, you'll be using your tired staff, hiring new ones, securing merchandising deals, and producing animes in an effort to grow in popularity and increase your studio's reputation. Have the highest reputation at the end of the game, and you'll win. The game is played over 4 rounds, and each is broken into 3 phases, starting with the production phase. Here, beginning with the first player and going clockwise around and around the table, you'll take turns performing actions. You'll use your staff to take actions, and there are 4 different types: directors, producers, artists, and writers. Each has its own color, and its role is also printed here at the top. There are 7 different types of actions you can perform in the game, and each are represented by a circle space on the main board. You'll also find them listed here on your player aid. On your turn, you can take a single action by moving a studio action token from one of your staff, putting it on top of the action that it can perform. You'll notice the actions have different colors. Writers can perform blue actions. Artists can perform green actions. Producers perform red actions. And directors, which are purple, can perform any type of action. There's also a black action here, and any staff member can perform this one. So as an example, if I wanted to perform this blue-colored action labeled as research, I could move the action token from my writer or the one from my director, because again, directors can perform any action. If I had used both of these tokens already on previous turns, then I would not be able to take this action because I don't have a valid token to move there. At the start of the game, you'll have 2 extra staff tokens, but you cannot use these yet. Only a token on a staff member can be used for an action. We'll see how these extras can be used later. After moving a token to an action, you resolve it. And we'll see how actions resolve in a moment, but after completing a single action, the next person in clockwise order places one of their tokens and performs an action. And around the table, you'll go like this. If one or more tokens from you or any other player are already on an action space, you can still add a token there to perform that action, but it may have an additional cost, which is known as the high demand fee. This is summarized here on the action board. So in a 2 or 3 player game, when a second token is added to a space, that player must pay 1 money. That's represented by this symbol here. So in our 2-player game, if I wanted to take this outsource action, I would have to pay 1 money token. For a third and all other tokens added here, the player would have to pay 2 money tokens. In this way, any number of tokens can be assigned to the same space. If we had a 4-player game, the first and second token placed here would not cost anything extra. But the third token to go onto the same action costs 1 money, and the fourth and all others placed thereafter would cost 2 money each. Anytime you need to spend money, just remove it from your inventory area and return it to the supply. If you ever need to pay more money than you have, you must take one of these debt cards to put in front of yourself. And then you collect the 7 money it shows here from the supply and put it into your inventory area, spending from this anything you needed to pay. So as a full example of this, let's assume I wanted to take this research action, which already has 2 tokens on it. In a 2-player game, adding a third token there would cost me 2 money, and let's assume I only have 1. I can still take this action, but I would first collect a debt card and the 7 money that comes with it. Then I would pay the 2 money I have to from what I received. There's no limit to how many of these debt cards you can gain, but you'll want to avoid them, and we'll see why later. All right, with that we understand how to select an action on our turn, but once you do, you resolve it. So now let's go through each of them and see how they work. We'll begin with staffing. To place an action token here, you must pay 2 money, as this icon shows. Then you resolve either of these 2 symbols, which represent either gaining a new staff member or promoting an existing one. No matter which one you choose to resolve, pick any one face-up card from these 4 staff decks and collect it. If you have less than 6 staff cards, you can choose to add this as a new staff member alongside any you already have, but do not put an action token on it. You will not get to perform an action with newly hired staff during the same round that you gained them. But instead of adding your newly gained card alongside ones you already have, you can lay it on top of a staff card sharing the same color. This is called promoting a staff member. If the member you are promoting still has their action token on them, place it on top of the new card. That token can still be used this round. I should also point out, as soon as you take a card from any of these staff decks, you then immediately flip the top one face up. The 4 staff you begin with are called dead inside staff. They love anime, but it's a tough industry and they're overworked. Cards you gain from the staffing action are known as Genki staff, a Japanese term used to describe someone who's motivated and feeling good. You can even promote Genki staff by putting a new one you just gained on top of one you already have with the same color. But keep in mind, you can only have at most 6 staff at a time. So once you do, any new ones you gain must go on top of other ones. Looking at this staffing action again, we saw that when you take it, you spend 2 money to add or promote staff members, but also notice the symbol in this red box. This is known as a bonus. You only gain this bonus if you took the action using a token from a Genki staff member. Let's assume it's later in the game and my staff looked like this. If I took the staffing action with this token, I would just resolve the action, but not the bonus, because this is a dead inside staff member. However, if I used the action token from this Genki staff member, then I would resolve the action and the bonus. The symbol here represents hype. So in this case, I would gain 3 of these hype tokens from the supply. Anytime you receive hype, add it to your inventory area, and we'll see how hype is used a little later. Okay, with that we've learned the staffing action. Now let's learn about networking. When resolving this action, you gain 2 networking cards drawn from this deck, which shares the same symbol on its back. And if you used Genki's staff to resolve this, you'd also gain 3 hype tokens. You can examine your networking cards, but keep them a secret from the other players. And just know you cannot use them on the same turn that you gained them, so I like to keep them face down in front of me until the start of my next turn. Networking cards have an ability listed in their center. After you take an action, you can choose to reveal any one network card with the matching action name at its top, and then resolve its related ability. For example, if I had just finished resolving this staffing action to hire an artist, then I could reveal this staffing network card, which says that I now gain 3 hype if I just used my action to hire or promote either an artist or a writer. Remember, you can only play at most 1 network card per action, and then after, you put it into a shared discard pile. If this deck would ever run out, just reshuffle the discard pile into a new one and draw what you're owed from it. We're not going to go through all the networking effects, as how they work is written on them, and they'll make more sense once you know all of the rules. For now, though, let's move on and learn the research action. When resolving this, the eyeball icon represents revealing script parts. So here, we'd reveal 3 of them. These face-down tiles represent the script stacks, and when you reveal new ones, do it 1 tile at a time from any combination of them, putting the new tiles face up into the area below their related stacks. So maybe I'd reveal this one, then another from here, and maybe one from here. After revealing with this action, the next symbol represents taking a script part. So in this case, we take any one face-up script part. Or if we'd placed a token from a Genki staff member to perform this action, we'd get a bonus second script part. The scripts you collect, again, have to come from the face-up ones, but they can come from any areas, not just the ones you revealed from that turn. So if I was allowed to collect 2, maybe I would take this one and this one. Now, during the game, if all of the script parts of a particular type have been taken, you automatically reveal a new one from its related stack. Anytime you collect script parts, put them in this storage area to the left of your board. At the end of your turn, you cannot have more than 5 tiles in your storage, but at any time, as a free action, you can move a script part to a matching empty space for it in what are known as these production slots. The script parts represent the setting, plot, and twist for your next anime production. But just know, when you move a script part to one of these spaces, it must stay there. You cannot remove it later to make a change. Now, why you might want certain script types in certain spaces will make more sense once we know more of the rules. But if you have more than 5 script parts in your storage area at the end of your turn, and you do not want or cannot move some to the production spaces, discard down to 5 script parts here, returning the extras to their related pools. Now that we know how the research action works, you'll see that the write action is similar. Here, you reveal any 1 script part and then take any 2 face-up ones, or 3 if you used a Genki staff member's action token. With those actions understood, now let's move on to the outsource action. When resolving this, gain a total value of 4 money from the supply, and if you used a Genki staff member, also resolve this merchandising symbol. Anytime you'd resolve this, first check your inventory. If you do not have one of these merchandising tokens there, put one in it from the supply. If you're resolving the merchandise symbol and you already have a merchandising token, then you move it from your inventory to the leftmost empty space of this row. So the next time we would resolve the merchandising symbol, since we don't have one in our inventory, we would move one here. The next time we'd resolve it, we see we have one, so we'd move it to the next leftmost empty space, and so on. The more tokens you have here, the more rewards you'll gain later in the round, as we'll see. But if you already have 4 in this row, do not collect any more of these tokens. Any more merchandise symbols you would gain instead give you a reputation point. Anytime you gain reputation, advance your token here on this track. If you would gain more than 10, move this marker down to bank those 10 points and then continue from the top of this track again. All right, now let's look at the Animate action. When you go here, you gain this symbol, which represents gaining an animation level. Or if you used a token from a Genki staff, you would gain 2 levels. With each level you gain, advance this token along your track here. The first advancement moves it to this space and then to here and so on. But there's a catch. To be able to advance into this first space, you must have at least 1 script token in your production area. If you don't have one, then you ignore any animation levels you would gain. But remember, you can, at any time, as a free action, move a script part to your production area. So if I moved this here, now I could resolve gaining my first level. To be able to move to this level, I would need 2 script parts, and then I would need 3 to move here. Advancing to these levels doesn't have any more requirements, but at most you can have 6 levels of animation on this track. Any extra you would gain after are just ignored. Animation levels represent the quality of your studio's artwork, so it will have a big impact on the popularity of your anime releases, as we'll see. Now though, let's look at the Strategize action. Remember, any staff member's token can be assigned here, and when one is, you must pay 2 money and then you gain 1 leverage, which we'll learn about in a moment. But if you used a Genki staff action token here, you also draw and collect a network card. When resolving a leverage, you pick any one of these boxes, gain its benefits, and then cover it with one of these tokens. In this way, the next time a leverage would be taken, one of these other boxes has to be resolved. Once all of these have been covered, then gaining leverage doesn't do anything. So let's see how each of these works. Resolving this provides you with 4 money, and then you take this first player token from whoever has it currently. If you already have the first player token, then you just keep it. Resolving this leverage is the only way the first player token moves during the game. Resolving this benefit allows you to promote a dead inside staff member to a Genki one following the steps we saw before. Here you would resolve the merchandise symbol as we learned previously. And finally, this gains you a total value of 6 hype minus the number of dead inside staff you currently have. So in a case like this, I would get 6 hype minus 1, 2, 3, 4 for a total of 2 hype. But if I had all of these already promoted, I'd get 6 minus 1 or 5 hype total. Speaking of which, let's see how you can use hype. At any time, as a free action, you can exchange hype in any of the ways it shows here. For example, you can return 4 hype to resolve 1 merchandise symbol, or you can exchange 1 hype for 1 money, or 1 hype for 1 popularity, which is represented by this heart symbol. Popularity doesn't do anything right now, but we'll see how it's used later in the round. Just know you can do any of these exchanges as often as you like. And with that, we've covered all the different actions you can choose from on your turn, which are also summarized here on your player aid. Before moving on, we should stop and talk quickly about some of the Genki staff effects. At their bottom, these can have abilities, and some will show a box listing 1 or more actions. When you take those actions with that staff member's token, you then gain the related effect. For example, if you took the networking action with this staff member's token, in addition to the 2 network cards and 3 hype you'd normally gain, you'd also resolve the merchandise symbol and gain 2 money. When looking at the abilities of a staff member, ignore symbols in this far right corner. those are used later. But make sure to pay attention to any underlined text in this area. It will refer to one of the game's phases, and the effect written to its right is active during that entire phase. So if you had this staff member, it says that your artists ignore high demand fees. So if I was moving this action token from the artist here, I would not have to pay the usual 2 extra money for placing a third action on this stack in a 2 or 3 player game. And these effects are always active in the related phase, even if you just hired that staff member during the current round, because these effects do not require you to use an action token. Now remember, on your turn, you resolve a single action, and then the next player goes. And around the table, turns are taken, performing one action at a time until everyone has used up all of their staff, skipping any players who run out of staff to use along the way. If you have any number of action tokens on your staff, but you do not want to use any of them when it comes to your turn, you can pass, removing all unused action tokens, and your turn will now be skipped for the rest of this phase. Once everyone has used all of their staff, the production phase ends. Then it's time for the release phase, where each person will get a chance to release a single anime from their studio. And you'll do this in turn order. This means that if the first player token moved during the production phase, that new player releases an anime first, with turns continuing clockwise from them. To release an anime, you need to have all 3 of your production slots filled and at least 1 level of animation. If you did not manage to do this in the production phase, then you will not be able to release an anime this round. When releasing an anime, several things will contribute to its popularity, and the higher the popularity, the more rewards you can gain from the anime you released. So let's see how that works. The 3 cards placed here during setup represent the trends among anime fans labeled as the upcoming, active, and fading trend. When releasing an anime, you must pick one trend to follow that has at least one symbol along its bottom, matching a symbol found on your script parts. These symbols each represent different types of genres. Each of your script parts will also show a genre symbol. Each genre has its own symbol and color, so the script part itself will be that matching color. So as an example, if these were my script parts, I could choose this trend with its 2 matching genre symbols, or this trend with just one, the same as this trend, which only has 1 matching symbol as well. On the other hand, if this trend was in play, I could not match to it. None of my symbols match its symbols. And when matching, the order of the genre symbols does not matter, but you can only match 1 script to 1 trend symbol. So if I want to match both of these blue genre trends, I would need 2 blue script parts. Usually you want to pick a trend with many matching genre symbols, but you do not have to. And any number of players can choose the same trend during this phase. It's also possible that none of your script parts will match any of the symbols on any of the trend cards. And if so, you will have produced what is known as a cult release. But for now, let's go back to calculating your popularity score. To do this, multiply the number of genre matches you made with your chosen trend by your animation level. So if we just assume things were like this, and I had chosen this trend, here I have 2 different genre matches and an animation level of 4. So 4 times 2 is a total of 8 popularity so far. If you had created a cult release, which happens when none of your script parts match any of the trend symbols, you instead just multiply your animation level by 4. So in this case, 4 times 4, or 16. No matter what type of release you have, also check the bottom right corner of each of your staff members. If any show an animation level icon, check the genre symbol found below it, and for each script part that matches that icon, add a bonus animation level to your calculation. So if we had these staff members and script parts and had chosen this trend and began with an animation level of 4, we would gain 2 more animation levels from these matching benefits, bringing the total to 6, which we then multiply by 2, which is how many genre symbols
match with the trend for a total of 12 popularity.
These calculations we've done create what is known as your base popularity, as shown here on your player aid. Your popularity is represented by this heart symbol, and with the base calculation done, it's now time to check for any popularity bonuses you might have. For this, you'll check to see if you have any staff with genre icons in their bottom right-hand corner, but this time with popularity icons above them. If so, you will earn that amount of extra popularity if their genre symbol is on at least one of your script parts.
You do not gain this bonus for each time this symbol appears. So if I had this staff member and my script had these two symbols, I still just gain 2 popularity for having a match. And then off of this staff member, I would get 3 additional popularity for this matching symbol.
On the other hand, if there's a genre match and the bonus shows an X, like we see here, that means you score the popularity bonus for each matching symbol in your script parts.
So in this case, the match I have here would score 3 popularity for this symbol and again for this symbol. Another way to gain bonus popularity for your release is by spending hype you've collected, returning it to the supply. As it shows here, for every 1 hype you spend, you gain 1 extra popularity. Now check to see if the trend you've chosen has one of these tokens on it. If so, and your script genre symbols match each of the genre symbols on that trend, you collect that token and gain 4 extra popularity. Just keep in mind, each script part can only match to a single icon on the trend. So to match this trend perfectly, I would need 2 blue tokens within my script parts.
Remember, only the first player to match a trend perfectly can gain the 4 bonus popularity of this token. So player order matters when collecting these. After gaining the bonus, put the token aside. It will come back into play later.
Also be aware, if you had a cult release, you cannot gain one of these tokens, and you do not gain any other bonuses that relate to trend cards. But this brings us to one final bonus we have to consider. When you pick a trend to follow, you gain the bonus printed here on the board below it. So if we had picked the trend in this position, we would gain +3 popularity for our release. Picking the upcoming trend would give us 2 hype, and picking the fading trend earns you a total of 3 in money tokens. Either way, once you have the final popularity score of your anime's release, check the matching column on this reward area of your player board. If we had 17, we would now gain 5 money and 4 reputation, which is represented by this symbol, moving our marker that number of spaces on this track. Also, no matter which column you resolved, you also resolve this merchandise symbol, as we learned about before.
But that's not all. An anime release brings a new opportunity.
With the rewards of your popularity level gained, a player who released an anime may now pick any one face-up opportunity card to fulfill if they meet its conditions.
These will have their condition in the upper portion of the card. For example, this one requires releasing an anime that has 20 or more popularity while following the active trend.
If you fulfill the conditions of an opportunity, gain the reputation points showing on its bottom half, in this case 2, as well as any points printed on the board above it. So in this case, 2 more reputation points. Then return the fulfilled card back to the box, leaving all the other ones where they are. In this way, the first person to claim an opportunity keeps the other players from gaining it. At most, you can only fulfill a single face-up opportunity during a round, even if you satisfy the requirements of other available ones. And if there are no face-up opportunity cards left, you cannot gain one. After releasing an anime, gaining its rewards, and fulfilling an opportunity if that was possible, you then reset your animation level to 0 and move all of the script parts from your board to the area on its right. If you did not release an anime during the round, keep your animation level and any script parts in their production slots.
Either way, after one player has released an anime, the next person in clockwise order gets to release theirs, and so on around the table until everyone has released a single anime or been skipped over because they could not.
You now move and flip the far right trend into a face-down pile here, moving the other 2 face-up ones to the right and drawing the top one from the deck to put here. When a new trend is revealed like this, it gains one of these bonus tokens.
Then it's time for the Upkeep Phase.
First, each player gains the reward listed under the rightmost filled-in space of their merchandise track. So in this case, 6 money and 1 reputation. Then each player may choose to pay off any number of debt cards, and you do this by paying 8 money back to the supply for the ones that you wish to remove, returning them to their deck. After paying any debts you can or wish to, add a value 1 money token to each debt you still have. When you pay off a debt, you spend the 8 money as usual, plus extra for each money token on it. So to pay this off in the next upkeep phase, it would cost me 9 money.
And be aware, you cannot take a new debt card in order to gain the money necessary to pay off another debt card. You must have spent money you already have in order to pay a debt.
Now each player must spend 1 money for every Dead Inside staff they have and 2 money for each of their Genki staff. So in this case, that would be a total of 7 money. And keep in mind, you only pay for the staff you can see. Any staff you have covered up do not count, and you never refer to them while playing. After, take back all of your action tokens that are on the main board, and then place 1 on each of your staff. Next, move each face-up Genki staff in the supply to the bottom of its related deck so it looks like this when you're done. Then reveal a new one from the top of each deck. This will give all the players fresh options to choose from going into the next round. Then remove all of the lock tokens from the leverage action spaces. And finally, flip over the leftmost face-down opportunity card.
You'll find the steps of the upkeep phase listed here on your player aid if you need a reminder while playing. With the upkeep complete, you now begin a new round, and rounds will continue until the end of the 4th round, where it's time to calculate the final scores.
First, each player loses 2 reputation for each unpaid debt card they still have, as indicated here. I should also point out, 29 is the most points of reputation a player can earn. Once you have 29 points, each future reputation point you would gain provides you with a value 1 money token instead. Then here, at the end of the game, the player with the highest reputation wins. If there's a tie, the tied player with the most money wins.
And if there's still a tie, the tied players share the victory.
The game also includes a pitch room variant, which is a different way to play using the same components, but now you'll be enacting an improvisational narrative mode where players will compete to pitch their next great idea for an anime. You'll also find rules for solo play as well.
But those rules I'll leave for you to discover on your own. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Jisogi. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime I release a new video. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can join the Patreon team, which I'll have linked below. But until next time, thanks for watching.